Hello, welcome to Thought for the Day. Since retiring last year, I've been trying very hard to make new routines for myself. I'm naturally disorganised, and without the discipline of work, my life is rather chaotic, and I continue to find becoming a more organised person a bit of a challenge. I got to thinking about how difficult it is to make changes to ourselves. And as Christians, we are expected to make those changes that lead us to become more like Christ. It brought me back to a piece from one of C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. It's from the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and in allegorical form it talks about just this problem of how we make those difficult changes. If you've never read the Narnia books, then you should, whatever your age. They may not be seen as entirely PC these days, but if read as allegory, they're rather lovely. Narnia is a magical country. You can only get there by magic. C.S. Lewis's central characters, the Pevensey children, get taken there to find out about Aslan the lion, who is the Christ figure. So in this particular book, the Pevenseys' obnoxious cousin, Eustace Scrubb, accidentally ends up in Narnia with them. And at the beginning, he is an arrogant, self-centred, all-round annoying boy. I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but to his dismay, he finds himself trapped on a ship, the Dawn Treader, with the Pevenseys, much to everyone's annoyance, as he is constantly disagreeable in every possible way. They land on an island, and Eustace wanders off, and he finds a dragon's lair, and is very greedy for the dragon's treasure that he finds there. He puts on a gold bracelet and falls asleep, and when he wakes up, he's been turned into a dragon. Lewis writes, sleeping on a dragon's hoard, with greedy, dragonish thoughts in his heart, he had become a dragon himself. Eustace realises that he's now cut off from his friends, and in his desperate loneliness becomes aware of how horrid he had been to them. He desperately wants to change, but he doesn't know how that's possible. Until Aslan comes to him and leads him to a large well in order to help him become a boy again. I'm going to read a bit from the book here, and this is Eustace telling one of the other children what happened. The lion told me I must undress first. Mind you, I don't know if he said any words out loud or not. I was just going to say that I couldn't undress because I hadn't any clothes on, when I suddenly thought that dragons are snaky sort of things, and snakes can cast their skins. Oh, of course, I thought, that's what the lion means. So I started scratching myself, and my scales began coming off all over the place. And then I scratched a little deeper, and instead of just scales coming off here and there, my whole skin started peeling off beautifully, like it does after an illness, or as if I was a banana. In a minute or two, I just stepped out of it. I could see it lying there beside me, looking rather nasty. It was a most lovely feeling. So I started to go down into the well for my bathe. But just as I was going to put my foot into the water, I looked down and saw that it was hard and rough and wrinkled and scaly, just as it had been before. Oh, that's all right, said I. It only means I had another smaller skin on underneath the first one, and I'll have to get out of that one too. So I scratched and tore again, and this underskin peeled off beautifully, and out I stepped and left it lying beside the other one, and went down to the well for my bathe. Well, exactly the same thing happened again, and I thought to myself, oh dear, however many skins have I got to take off? So I scratched away for the third time and got off a third skin, just like the others, and stepped out of it. But as soon as I looked at myself in the water, I knew it had been no good. Then the lion said, but I don't know if it spoke, you will have to let me undress you. I was afraid of his claws, I can tell you, but I was pretty nearly desperate now, so I just lay down flat on my back to let him do it. The very first tear he made was so deep that I thought it had gone right into my heart. And when he began pulling the skin off, it hurt worse than anything I've ever felt. The only thing that made me able to bear it was just the pleasure of feeling the stuff peel off. Well, he peeled the beastly stuff right off, just as I thought I'd done it myself the other 3 times, only they hadn't heard. And there it was lying on the grass, only ever so much thicker and darker and more knobbly looking than the others had been. And there was I, as smooth and soft as a peeled switch and smaller than I had been. Then he caught hold of me. I didn't like that much, for I was very tender underneath now that I had no skin on. And he threw me into the water. It smarted like anything, but only for a moment. After that it became perfectly delicious, and as soon as I started swimming and splashing, I found that I'd turned into a boy again. And after a bit, the lion took me out and dressed me. I find this scene so moving. It's a reminder of God's grace. We all have some of the Eustace in us, and I know that I cannot fix myself. And this paints a beautiful picture of baptism and transformation to new life. What's even more reassuring is the way that Lauris ends the chapter. It would be nice and fairly true to say that from that time forth Eustace was a different boy. To be strictly accurate, he began to be a different boy. He had relapses. There were still many days when he could be very tiresome, but most of those I shall not notice. The cure had begun. Thank you.